The following is a public preview of the New Models podcast. For our complete library, visit patreon.com/newmodels or newmodels.substack.com.
New Models Talkcore.
Talkcore. It's talk, but it's also core. Blah, blah, blah.
It seems everyone is talking about Talkcore.
Would you like more Talkcore?
It's Talkcore from New Models.
Welcome to New Models. On this episode, we chat with writer and pop culture fanatic Alex Kazemi. The occasion is his recent book, New Millennium Boyz, which was published by Paramount Press last year. When we last had Alex on the pod in 2020, it was following the release of his previous book, Pop Magic, which had some in our audience up in arms due to his free associative claims about the dark arts. The truth is, though, that Alex has been practicing the dark arts of internet PR since he was a teenager, and has a gift for conversation in both text and voice. Longtime listeners will recall that New Models used to have a series called TopSoil. In fact, during COVID, the majority of content we put out were TopSoil episodes. The series title came from the idea that the New Models channel could be a place to work out new thinking in real time, that something emergent might come from informally chatting about what was happening in the world. It was a place to air the dirt, premium dirt, generative dirt, topsoil. Bringing back topsoil with just me and Carly talking to each other didn't quite feel right. But this conversation with Alex Kazemi marks the first episode of a new format called Talkcore, which will coexist with our regular New Models interviews, our intermittent dispatch monologues, my radio plays and mixtapes, NM Reads residencies, and the special reports responding to current events. In bringing you this first episode of New Models Talkcore, we also realized that ultimately New Models' RSS feed is less a singular podcast than an audio magazine. This fall, you'll see some updates to our site thanks to patron saint of New Models' digital presence, John Lucas, as we make it possible to navigate both past and future New Models content with this framework in mind. As part, we're also working on a New Models radio feature, but more on that soon. For now, without further ado, here is episode 1 of New Models Talkcore, featuring New Millennium Boyz author Alex Kazemi. I'm Lil Internet, joined by my co-host Carly Busta. Let's get into it.
We're happy to welcome back Alex Kazemi, repeat guest, actually.
Yes.
Second time on the show.
What an honor. Thank you.
Last time we spoke with Alex, he had just published a book called Pop Magic, A Simple Guide to Bending Your Reality. He has recently, 2023, he published a new book called New Millennium Boyz. They're both out from Paramount Press when distributed by Simon & Schuster.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll talk a little bit about these books on the pod. But actually, Alex is just this amazing self-PR force. And you've just sent us a number of emails. You sent us this list of topics that was really hard to say no to. So we were like, all right, let's do this.
Yeah,
let's chat.
Last time we talked with Alex, there was a couple people who also have been on the internet a very long time. And they were like, Alex Kazemi, why are you talking to Alex Kazemi? That guy's such an operator.
Yeah,
like,
literally
that guy's
the word,
he's constantly scamming people to give him
You got scammed into doing a pod, doing press, doing PR for his magic book.
But, I mean, you are an OG internet operator. And I guess just immediately had a really strict, formal logic of attention being the brute currency of the entire
world
present.
Today. Yeah. A certain strata of it anyway. So here we are. So we're in Berlin and you're in Vancouver. Is that right?
Yeah, home of Douglas Copeland.
Love him. The book that he did with Hans Ulrich Obrist and Schumann Basar, we love this series of books and have found them really formative for our thinking. So shout out Douglas Coupland. In any case, you sent us this amazing list, which spans all kinds of things. But just before we hit record, you were like, oh, I really want to talk to you about the MTV News Archive being wiped. So let's just jump in there.
Yeah, that's where I want to start. So basically, I know Carly has spoken about how we won't be able to study traditional press and media websites like Vice.com because at some point the data will be wiped. And that is happening right now because Paramount bought MTV and they updated the MTV.com servers and they wiped out all of the data bylines, all of the news bylines, and all of these web editors who were at MTV in the 90s and 2000s are like years of my life are wiped. And I thought that it was so interesting because Paramount made a statement and they didn't have any sense of remorse about wiping out the history. And they didn't see any value in, a news byline like Aaliyah saying she wants to work with Trent Reznor that is now gone, or things that a lot of nerds who use the MTV News Archives to this day to track pop culture history and these sentimental moments, and it's all gone. But archive.org is trying to restore them, but it's still different,
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's an interesting case actually there. I had a really interesting conversation this weekend with Cullen Miller, who works on the Spawning.ai project, Matt Dryhurst and Holly Herndon. And I'm like, yeah, what's on your mind right now? And he's like, well, they're talking about these massive models. Sam Altman's raising like an amount that's so large you can hardly wrap your head around it, like statecraft levels of funding. Yes. And he's like, that's great. And maybe they'll get the money from the Saudis or like whatever. But the problem is training data.
Yeah.
There's not going to be the training data to make these models actually good. And when you think about like the MTV archives, what valuable training data that is. You just wipe that? Like, I feel like these companies, okay, there's like the good citizen, cultural memory, like human reason that we want to keep these, and the personal reason of like all those people who are involved with producing that content and whose lives are archived in these spaces, that's wiped. But like, even if you're just a hardcore, like technocratic realist, that's incredibly valuable training data that you just evaporated.
Yeah. And that is so interesting to think people at Paramount didn't really see any value in that. And there are all these people who are like, no, we want this data. We don't even know if they have the archives backed up. Paramount could have just literally wiped them. So
the disturbing thing there is, again, on the human level, it's kind of like when the Taliban destroyed those medieval Buddhist, tower-size sculptures in the, right? I mean, not on that, I don't want to, sorry, someone's going to call me out for comparing like an Aaliyah blind, well, Aaliyah's Aaliyah, but like,
it's a kind of damnatio memori, right? Like in the Roman times, when a punishment they could give somebody is called damnatio memori, and it meant that not only was the person exiled or executed, but they would go into the official history books and erase all mention of them from the record of history.
It's absolutely that. Yes.
But there's a second layer to this, which is like, okay, so the people who are making mergers and acquisitions decisions for Paramount aren't thinking about this trajectory when so much capital is being placed behind AI futures and the people at Paramount. I mean, maybe they are, maybe I'm an idiot, and maybe there's a very good reason why they couldn't use that, or maybe they've already scraped it and it's already been sold or something. But it's unsettling to think that people who are in that position of power in corporate media are not thinking about information storage that way. And again, maybe they are, and maybe I just don't know the full story, but if they're not, that's unsettling.
Yeah, and it's kind of like everyone engages with the internet with this way where, oh, well, I have this sense of comfort that that website will always be there. It's immortal. It's never going away. It's permanent. There's a permanence to it. And then these historians and all these people woke up one morning and this resource that they were using just disappeared. And I think the disturbing part of it with like the human empathy point of view is there were real people writing these articles. There were real news editors. This is people's life's work being wiped. Yeah. And it's just this callous thing. And it makes you really wonder if the gatekeepers, the people in power who are deciding what is of value, if they even know what is of value.
I mean, but also at a time when the late 90s, early aughts was still a time when doing something via MTV had like cultural cachet, the gatekeeping mechanisms that a piece of content had to go through before it was transmitted to the audience were like pretty rigorous, right? And so that content is like high value. You may or may not agree with it. You may or may not think like the politics line up with today, but it was like really well considered by a number of people who were personally invested in that narrative appearing a certain way. And that's valuable from a historical point of view. Whether or not you think it's correct or politically right, it's validated as valuable to a number of people, right? So, and it influenced a lot of people because it was like a singular signal.
Exactly. And I think also the historical blueprint of what it would look like on the archives, like it said the date, it said the year, and it's also a capsule of early web news. And I don't think the newer generations understand the early web and its development, and mtvnews.com was an exciting new way to streamline what was being seen on TV in like bite-sized bits on the web, like a newspaper almost. And to wipe that out is sort of shocking to me.
I mean, that's the crazy thing is like we're talking about something, like 25 years old?
Yes.
I mean, if that is the lifespan of digital press, like where is history going to be like
that's exactly right.
collected in a stable way? I mean, I guess the assumption is just that AI is going to be like eating everything and compressing it into alien multidimensional vector speak, and that will be the ultimate arbiter of history and facts and what happened in the past.
The rewriting, the overwriting of the code. And I'd kind of argue that every algorithm or like user experience has a different variant of internet culture. And I feel like maybe even in the early web, there could have been an attempt at a fixed internet monoculture because there was a real monoculture at the time. But I feel like in the way Gen X and millennial cusps have a big shared Viacom branded subconscious cloud of TV, magazines, celebrity moments, and say, that's a part of my cultural history and memory. The internet, the way that it is now with the algorithms, there's no universal memories or symbols that everyone can look at and say, that's a part of my cultural history and memory, because everyone is creating and manufacturing a different version of the internet when they use it. So I think that the MTV News archives being wiped is also a part of this feeling of, oh, did the monoculture even have any value? Like we could just wipe it. It happened. Who cares? We're here. Here we are now. I mean, what did they replace the website with? Like Jersey Shore streaming stuff on the, like, that's like, you know what I mean? Like that has more value than Christina Aguilera's thoughts on 9/11 thing, because there were thousands of little articles like this. And also, I mean, for me, it's like very disturbing to me. All of like the Madonna history is fucking gone. And I'm like, God, like I want to read about the time that, she tried to work with this producer, because MTV News would update so frequently, so many things that never came into fruition. So it created this mythology and lore about these huge stars and musicians and artists. And you could even kind of, as an artist, go back and be like, oh, well, like, there's an unfinished idea there, like that I could work off of, or something that an artist mentioned in an interview. Like the MTV archives were gold mines to me. And I thank God that, this was wiped after I worked on my book and my fact checking, because I would have died if I wasn't able to fact check.
That's a question. I mean, you were born in 94, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you were like 6 at the millennial turn. So how did you, when you wrote this book, which is very much about this millennial Y2K movement. Some of it is going to be impressions, vague impressions when you were a child, or things that sort of stuck. But like your peers wouldn't have been teens at that time.
How
did you research it? Like what was the interest in adolescence during this period? Well,
I was sort of interested in my generation's obsession with this era and the internet's obsession with I don't think we've ever seen a time in cultural history where we are ruminating so much on footage and videos, and, even corporations know how to play off of this nostalgia, this idea of, Y2K being the peak of Western civilization. So when it came to fact checking, I really did want to make it very historically accurate. So I really looked at like home videos, university databases, movies, everything. Like but I also remember, Paul Thomas Anderson made period pieces about being in the 70s when he was a child. It is a common.
You have a right to do it. There's nothing there. I'm curious what your methodology is.
Yeah, I wanted to make it as visceral as possible, but I think the thing that helped me a lot was Usenet groups and archive groups of kids talking exactly in that time on bulletin message boards, and I could take slang and concepts, and this was very much the time where like kids would beat up fans in like Marilyn Manson album lineups because they look like posers, like things that Gen Z can't even really comprehend of this kind of gatekeeping mainstream versus, I was shocked when I watched the Woodstock 99 stuff when I finished the book because I kind of avoided it until I had built my fiction world.
Yeah, we actually haven't seen the documentary.
Yeah. But I remember Woodstock 99. I remember it happening.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm also ancient, so just say what that is, what it is in the cultural imaginary.
Yeah, well, the Woodstock 99 was this festival that was a redux of the original Woodstock, and these boomers who were the founders of Woodstock kind of thought, okay, this is the 90s, we're going to bring in new metal, we're going to bring in a variety of different music. We'll have Moby, we'll have Sheryl Crow, we'll have Korn, and it's going to be this beautiful, lovely thing. And it basically all backfired with all of the audiences mixed up. And what I found to be so weird and interesting in some of the footage was that there was a genuine upset of the Korn and Limp Bizkit fans at the MTV VJs and the MTV camera crew about playing Britney and playing NSYNC, and they felt like it was an actual like microaggression towards them. Like they were like, I don't want to see that on my MTV. And you think of that like as like a cultural war. It's almost unfathomable in this climate to think of something like that. But they truly wanted to like beat people and be angry seeing this pop takeover, and there was this war of genres, and it doesn't even seem fathomable, or it's so surreal when you see it in retrospect.
Very different than the like Coachella model, which of course has a little bit of everybody. And now the Coachella model, we're post-Coachella kind of, right? The millennial logic, which enabled Coachella to become, or that model to become so big, has also sort of peaked, right? And now the way that like Gen Z relates to music and creates subculture, if we can call it that. Yeah, it's different.
Yeah, festival culture now, like Coachella is just for, a girl who saw Kendall Jenner buy a Contax G2 and go and take pictures of, herself. It's really a set. It's just a set to be on the internet.
It's like a music video set. That's what we've talked about.
It's a music video set.
For like however many people are attending any day of Coachella to make individual music videos.
Well, I want to talk a bit about what you talked about in your document journal essay, and you referred to mood board cinema, about how vibes are.
Shout out Theo Anthony, the director. That's his term.
Thank
so
you.
Good.
Yeah. But you brought it up, and about how vibes are more important than narrative. And I feel like there's also mood board novels right now as a way where it's like this gotcha thing where the reference is more important than any form of imagination. And I think that was the big controversy with Honor Levy's book, where she was using this Twitter speak or online dialogue, and it was being presented in literature form. But the Zoomers were all like, well, there were all these parodies of it. And then I think that kind of goes to show you, it's like, does this online speak, this online niche art translate in the medium of a book or a film?
Honor's book is something particular. In fact, I'm looking at a copy right this.
Yeah, I've been reading it.
I think it's actually...
If you're hearing this message, you've completed the first step towards becoming a New Models member. To continue, visit patreon.com/newmodels or newmodels.substack.com. A complete library containing hundreds of rare New Models episodes awaits.